Well, welcome back to what are you on? Episode 4, Split Screen Experience.
Yep, episode 4.
Episode 4. I didn't think we'd make it this far. That's 1 month of podcasts.
I know.
Who'd have thought?
Like just yesterday that we started.
And then before we know it, we'll be on episode 517, which will be recorded on our private beach while we're sipping Mai Tais and whatnot.
I think I'll stick to Dr. Pepper. But as always, I'm your host, Harmon, joined alongside my other host,
Andrew.
Let's get into episode 4. So right off the bat, I want to talk about split screen gaming. Kind of fits with our title, Split Screen Experience. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, do you think gaming has kind of not been kind to split screen in recent years, or do you think it's still kind of held on to what it was in the past with like Call of Duty, Halo, and like some other indie games?
I think this is a pretty easy one for me. Split screen has definitely, like, couch co-op games in general have basically become a novelty of the past. There's a few games that try to like be designed to be exclusively played in that capacity to like to recapture that sort of essence. Like you had like we talked about screen cheats, screen peaks, whatever last week, stuff like that, where it's like it is only allowed to be played in couch co-op, and they're more like a little like a that's the special essence behind them is the fact that they can only be played that way versus yeah, I think we've seen a lot of these big titans of gaming. They don't do it anymore. Like, what do you think?
I think I'm gonna have to agree with you. Like split screen gaming hasn't been the same.
Mhm.
I would say since the next like from 360 to 1, I think once and PlayStation 4. I think once the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 came out, that's where we stopped really seeing a ton of split screen capabilities.
Mhm.
More people having access to like more affordable internet and more people buying game consoles. I think Microsoft and Sony were like, yeah, what if we just like say, hey, you're not gonna be able to play split screen, but you guys could both buy the game and have even more fun.
Yeah, I think there definitely was a culture shift in more than one way with the next gen like barrier where we saw it went from the essence of the old gen consoles was community and togetherness and this new frontier of gaming. Really, I mean, every generation is a new frontier of gaming, but you saw the rise of like playing Halo outside of LAN parties and stuff like that on consoles because you could connect to the internet. So that started shaping that direction. And then with the next generation, with the Xbox Ones and PS4s, I think they really leaned into this idea of everyone's just going to be online. And that's the way they wanted it to be because that meant more units sold. And so it means you sell more console units, you sell more game units. They have to have a subscription to play online. It meant more money. And I think that's why at least first party titles definitely moved that direction. Because I mean, we saw with Halo Infinite, they canned the co-opness of that game, even for online campaign. I don't think they really are interested in that anymore. They just want people to buy things as much as possible and have subscriptions as much as possible.
Yeah, it's really starting to look like that, especially in recent years. I think the only game that's coming to mind that if you wanted to play multiplayer, you had to be on couch split screen is Cuphead.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's the only game of recent years that's coming to mind.
Good game though.
I never played it, mainly because I didn't feel like hating myself because I heard it's really hard.
Oh, it is.
But then
It's
I'll go
hard.
there and play Dark Souls for an hour and say, "Oh yeah, I've accomplished something," even though I've died like 50 times.
Yeah, but it's the thrill of seeing that boss drop to his knees and be like, "You foul beast," and then like turning into dust and ash, and then a bonfire appearing where he was stood.
Yeah, the one boss I'm gonna kill in that hour of playing.
Right. It's not a sprint; it's a marathon.
Unless you're my friend Isaiah, then you're just like godly at the game.
Yeah, because he even like mastered Sekiro, which I give him props. I could never. I spent probably about 10 hours in that game. Was basically just trapped at the start of the game after 10 hours, and I had to throw in the towel because where the other games are all about dodging and whatnot, you can parry, but you don't have to. Sekiro basically dictates you have to parry, and the parry windows are very precise, and missing one is extremely consequential. So I had to throw in the towel, but I know he beat that game, so I give props to him.
Yeah, I think he's beat all of the Xbox From Software games.
Yeah.
I don't think Bloodborne, that's PlayStation, right?
Yeah, Bloodborne and Demon Souls are PS exclusive.
Yeah, I know him and I think all of us actually who only play Xbox have expressed interest of wanting to play it.
Hmm.
And I wish they would bring over a port version of it, kind of
Right.
remaster it a little, update the graphics, maybe give it more of an Elden Ring movement,
It'd be nice.
bring it, bring it over to Xbox. But I really think From Software kind of got their movement down with Elden Ring. Elden Ring felt really smooth
Yeah, absolutely.
with the movement. Like going from playing Dark Souls 1, oh, I hate it. It's so clunky.
Hmm.
I know that game came out forever ago, and I know there's a remastered one. But I feel like buying the remastered one. I just played the 360 version. Man, going from Elden Ring and then back to Dark Souls, I'm like, oh yeah, there's a big shift in this.
Hmm. Without a doubt, Elden Ring is where FromSoft absolutely has perfected their formula. Well, I don't want to. I guess I don't want to say perfected. Um, I hope that there's always an evolution for any studio to like learn and get even better because they're already great. So if they can get any better, you know that in Elden Ring 2 or whatever's next should be awesome. I didn't play their Armored Core game that came out. I thought about buying it. I might pick it up. That looked like a pretty good time. I hope that they continue to grow and get better and better because Elden Ring was awesome. It was so fun.
Yeah, I've beaten it multiple times with one character, of course. I don't feel like wanting to level up a whole new character
Mm,
and have to go through the pain that I went through
right.
initially.
Like just what a like the world, the bosses, the mechanics. The only thing I think was a little underutilized, and like this is gonna sound like nitpicky because it is really a small complaint. So you use your horse Torrent for like your open world travel all the time, and like in that part is actually utilized because it's an open world game. You're not gonna walk on foot, but like the bosses where you could mount up in the fights were really cool, and I wish we would have had more of that because I think the only ones the only main one you could was Radon, because you could mount up on in that arena and charge him. And that was really awesome. That made that feel so much like even more cinematic than that boss fight already is. It just took it to a whole other level. I wish we could see more of that in the future.
You can use Torrent for the Fire Giant,
Yeah, that's the other one.
but if you use throughout the game, you can summon. If you interact with certain characters, you can summon them.
Mm.
And there's a summon for that fight, and his name is Alexander the Iron Jar.
The jaw.
Best NPC in that game. Love Alexander. If you
Mm.
summon him, you can't use Torrent, which kind of sucks.
I didn't know that actually.
But at the same time, he tanks the entire time, so you can basically do whatever you want in that fight.
Mhm. Yeah, the summon system was really cool. I know there were some people, the people who are chronically online, and I hear about. There's always people in any game. It just seems worse with these games that have like a repertoire of like difficulty and challenge. You know that kind of skill requirement for these games. The old fans of Dark Souls coming out and being like, "Oh, you use summons," and it's like it doesn't matter if it's in the game. And I don't want to sound like it's in the game, so it's intended. Like it's not like it's a bug or anything. It is a feature of the game to use summons. Unfortunately, I didn't know about them until I'd already gotten through like 3 bosses, and then I found the bell to get the summons to go because I didn't go to the church at night and talk to Ronnie because I didn't think to do that because why would I? And then once you go to Round Table Hold, she doesn't go there anymore.
No, not at all.
But yeah, people were like, "Oh, that's not fair."
I fought Margit and the misbegotten warrior Leon
Mhm. Yep.
over at that castle before I had my summons, and I'm like, man, this game's really hard. And I remember someone in my friend group was like, hey, you have the summoning bell. No, what's that?
Right.
Oh, I highly recommend you go get it. Made my life infinitely easier.
Which I will say that is like I would think that would be a valid criticism of their formula. Like not the entire thing. This is again a very small thing that has a very big domino effect. Them making the spirit summoning bell pretty much a completely missable thing, but it's being so impactful to me is not a great idea. But again, that is a one small complaint. In otherwise, what I would consider to be a perfect game. It's great. I could have done with a little bit more variety in the names of people because half the time I have to think about who I'm talking about very, very precisely. When you have, Moog, Morgott, Margit, like Mikola, Melania,
Melania.
like it's all of them. Radon, Rykar, like they picked like three letters and everyone's named after one of them.
All the bosses are neither an M, an L, or an R.
Yeah.
And there's no in between.
Yeah. That, like again, those are like very small things that I would have changed, but otherwise it is so perfect. Like that is, I think for me at least, that's the definitive open world game right now, and probably for the next handful of years. Like,
Oh, without a doubt. I think that game, it basically is like a true RPG because the game doesn't tell you, like, it gives you hints along the way,
yeah,
but you have to go figure out what your adventure is going to be. Well,
right,
there's not like a lot of there's 6 endings. I'm not gonna say there's not a lot, but like all the endings are kind of like everyone's gonna be doing the same thing. It's
Mhm.
just the little choices in between are what sets everyone's playthrough different.
Yeah, because for endings you largely only have three baseline ones. Because you have like the base Elden Lord, which you get for doing just getting to the end of the game, or you get a variation on it for doing like a couple of different things. You get a couple different variations where it basically just changes like 2 lines of dialogue. I wish they would have full-fledged interactions like the next two I'm about to bring up, but the Frenzied Flame ending, and then my favorite, the Age of Stars. That was, I mean, visually incredible. Such a neat like little storyline that goes with that ending. Those have a real like grip on like, wow, that I want to see what the other endings are. And I wish the other ones would do that too. Yeah, for the most part, everyone's going to be doing little things along the way that slightly change the outcome, unless you do some of the major things that's going to give you a fairly different outcome.
I would agree. So kind of moving forward on that, I know content creation has kind of become kind of a big thing, especially in recent years. Is there like a content creator or content creators that kind of like inspired you to want to play video games? Or did you just kind of start playing and then started watching content creators?
Definitely started playing and then watching. With the amount of time between like me developing consciousness and being at home and having my main console as like a little kid was a PS2. Played the heck out of that. Around the time my sister was born, I was gifted the Xbox 360 as a compensation for not being able to sleep ever again. And then somewhere in that era is when YouTube really started to pick up in between the PS2 and the 360. That's where you really saw the rise of these content creators. So yeah, for me at least, based off my timeline, I started playing way before I even knew what YouTube was.
I think I was aware of what YouTube was. I just didn't know that that was what it was called.
Right.
Because I believe the first ever video I watched on YouTube was like the Office Nerf War.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That's the first video I remember watching. I rewatched it a couple weeks ago just to see if I could find it. Sure as not, it was one of the top things when you type in Office Nerf War.
Right. Well, because like especially in early YouTube, that's what you saw. Like these videos that came up, like there were only so many YouTube videos going out each day, so any video realistically got traction. It was only limited by the viewership of YouTube. Versus now, you're limited by the amount of content coming out on YouTube any given second. As I finished this sentence, 20,000 more videos probably just went up. Like that's how big YouTube is now compared to then. But yeah, those videos they blew up and they were so fun. And there was something so pure about that like early internet entertainment like that.
No, because the world wasn't desensitized. That's the word I was looking for. As it is now, with the amount of stuff that even younger people see on the internet
Mm-hmm.
nowadays. Like I could hop on TikTok right now and I could see so many things NSFW. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not even crazy. And we have impressionable teenagers on that. I don't want to get into a big rain on this, but
I know, go. I mean, run with it.
it's kind of, I think we need to kind of go back in time with
Mhm.
the content that gets put on. Maybe not everyone's able to, but and we have a bit more stricter guidelines for it because of we live in an age of technology. And that's going to be the end of my rant. So go on.
I was say, no, I'm following along with you. I mean, it's like when you think about it, like it's a combination of like to an extent it has to be guidelines, but to another extent it has to be parenting. Like I really do hate the amount of times where I see parents getting mad at a company for their child misusing a service that they shouldn't have had access to begin with, and then it's deemed the company's fault. It's absurd to me. Like recently, we had to see on Capitol Hill, they brought out all these tech giant CEOs. You know, we had the Zucky Zuck and some other people, and they asked Zuckerberg to apologize to the parents of children who were taken advantage of through their platform. And I'm sitting here, and it's like it's a gravely unfortunate circumstance, but it's not Mark Zuckerberg's job to police your child. They lied on an account that said they were this age, even though you're supposedly have to be, I think it's 16 or 17 to use like Instagram and stuff. I think that's their policies.
Yeah, I think they changed it recently.
But it's like it's something like that. Your kid was on there when they weren't supposed to be, or they were only supposed to be on there with your permission. Like my little sister is not on social media. She has one that my stepmom and my dad operate like along with her. She can only post things that they greenlight. She can only use it X amount of times, sort of deal. Because kids don't need to have unfiltered access to the internet now. I feel like we were fine when we had, I'm assuming you were probably in the same boat as me, largely unfiltered internet access.
Yeah.
I mean, much. we weren't seeing the kind of stuff on there that we're seeing today. We were like, oh, look, a Minecraft song parody. Let's watch 50 of those. I turned out fine.
How many Minecraft song parodies I've listened to over the years?
Right.
It's slowed down now, but man, I've watched a lot.
Yeah.
Going off that, what was your favorite?
Oh, out of the Minecraft song parodies?
Yeah.
Let's see here. It's got to be, Captain Sparkles, I'm going to give him, he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT in a lot of ways for me. I'm definitely going to have to give it to, I think, Fallen Kingdom. That song just goes hard. Obviously, the original goes hard too. It's based off Viva La Vida by Coldplay. 99% of Coldplay's catalog goes hard. That's definitely one of the heavy hitters, but it's so good for no reason.
Yeah, and then I think I'm also agreeing with you, but I also like that he kind of made like a story with it too, because then he released a sequel to it, like Take Back the Night.
Yep, that was the second one.
I think he released like 3 or 4, didn't he?
Yeah, there's 4. It was Fallen Kingdom, Take Back the Night. There's Dragon Hearted, which is either the 3rd one or the 4th one. And then hold on, let me look. I forget the order. Let's see here.
Got Find the Pieces and
Find the Pieces. That's it.
And Rising Kingdom.
Yeah, Rising Kingdom was the new one.
Oh yeah, a year ago.
Yeah, because anytime I see those videos pop, because I'll see the YouTube notification, Captain Sparkle's uploaded, so something Minecraft YouTube parody or whatever, and I'm like, and I have to watch. I don't care how old I am. When I'm 45, if he's if we're lucky enough to still have him and he's still making that content, I will still tune in and listen to it at least once. Because for the most part, I like his stuff because he actually does like other music too. And for the most part, it's pretty good too. He's not one of those people that they're like, I'm doing music now. And it just sounds like they're like button mashing a keyboard, like slamming their hands on it. It actually sounds like music. So that's, the baseline comment I can give it.
Most content creators, oh, we've hit a certain milestone. Let's do music now.
Right.
Yeah, because that always works.
Yeah. Unless you have, like, there's people who have it and there's people who don't. And like, it's like this with a lot of things where there's people who are extremely proficient, or at least somewhat proficient in one field, and they want to jump over to another. They think that translates. Like, say, like Harry Styles, who's like, I don't really care for most of his music. I like 2 of his songs. Don't really care for most of his catalog. I don't hate the guy or anything. But like, he keeps trying to do acting, and he's not a good actor. I would say he's a skilled musician based off the amount of people who like his music. Stay in your lane, that kind of thing. And it's like, that's the YouTubers. They're like, I've done Call of Duty Zombies content for the last 10 years. Check out my mixtape, and it is the worst thing you've ever heard in your life. And I'm not naming any specific names or anything, but
yeah, I think songwriters and artists should stay songwriters and artists. I think actors should stay actors. Not that you can't branch out, but I feel like if you're known for one thing, if you try to do another major thing, it doesn't always work out well.
And like there are times that it has. Like let me get that out there now. Like Sinatra, one of the best voices of all time, great music, was in tons of movies, and he was a good actor, or at least like a serviceable actor. He was considered good for the time. I think if you watch it now, most of his stuff seems kind of whatever. You know, at the time you're like, oh, it's a Sinatra movie, and like it was seen that way. Like there are people who can do it, and if you can do it, great. But if you can't, don't. Like that's my quote of the day.
I think the last thing I kind of wanted to talk about in today's episode, what's your favorite memory of gaming or moment? I guess. What's your
Oh,
favorite moment? Like whether in a game, outside a game, what's your favorite? Or if you had to say like top three, if you can't name one.
my favorite would have to be my long ago friend Cole. He had a birthday party where me and a couple buddies went over to his house, and we were in middle school. We were like sixth grade, no, seventh grade. We were in seventh grade, and we stayed up. We did all kinds of stuff. We had to go, do the obligatory like hooligan behaviors that I'm not going to mention specifically. I don't know if the statute of limitations on TPing has worn off or not. Stuff like that. We came back and we just stayed up all night playing Black Ops 2 Zombies on his TV, and we were having that is by far one of my favorite memories. It might not be my like number one, but it's definitely up there. It was just a night we stayed up. We were just, oh, you down? You handed the remote off. We were trading because we could only do two players on that screen comfortably. So two people were just kind of snacking and waiting for their turn. Once someone down, you got the remote. And we stayed up all night playing. We were playing Mob of the Dead. We were playing Transit. We were, some of the best maps of all time, some of the worst maps of all time, but it was so fun.
I think mine's a similar experience, but except it wasn't zombies. We were just playing Halo, and me and my friends came up with this game mode on Halo 4 specifically. We call it Ultimate Infected, bottomless clip, random weapons, high speed, low gravity, infinite abilities.
Right.
And until recently, we played on, I want to say the map was called Erosion on Halo 4. It had like the big old plane engine, like stuck into a mountain, big old ship in the background. We played on that map for the longest time. And then we switched to the Griffball Court because we realized seeing them in a straight line come at you with infinite boost is terrifying and funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to find out that I can use Forge mode, and I can start putting some stuff down, and we can start having our own custom maps on the Griffball Court. I think we did that. I changed around some of the settings that I thought was fun, and then when we have a big group on, we play it. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, I think my favorite moment is probably gaming with my buddies.
Yeah, like it has to be, right? Like as much as like I know we've both played our fair share of like really action set piece games with like gripping narratives and whatnot, like obviously like Halo has a ton of those moments where it's like, Chief riding the bomb out of the cargo bay and stuff like that. Like there's cool memories like that, but like to me those are moments, and then like what we just talked, like those are the memories, and that's what gaming will always be to me. Like don't get me wrong, I love those cool moments in games, but memories of the midnight releases or with your buddies and like going into a custom game on Halo, COD, doing window wars and all that, to me that's invaluable.
Yeah, if I could go back time, it would definitely be during that time period. Then I get to relive all those fun gaming moments. But I think my favorite moment, like actually in a video game, is probably the end of Halo 3, doing the Warthog run, and then it plays in the background.
Yeah, the most legendary mission in Halo history.
I will, if I'm in a party, I will mute everyone in a party, and I will just listen to the music as I'm driving.
Right.
Because it's great.
Yeah, it's such a cool and effective set piece. And Halo 3 in general is just such a good game. Like, for so many reasons. Like, all the characters are great. You got Arbiter.
Yeah, I wish we could have gotten, like, a good continuation of it. Or
also true.
Just let it end there. So I thought it was, like, kind of a pretty good ending. Sure, Chief wasn't home on Earth, but kind of fit him. Could have written off that he died saving humanity. or I guess Spartans Never Die. They're
Yeah.
just missing in action.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, again, I'm not saying every story needs a happy ending. There are certain stories that I think do deserve it. I'm not going to be this guy who's like, every story should end miserably and in pain and sadness and despair. Like, I'm not going to be like that. There are some that definitely that lends to it. Like, little spoiler for the game It Takes Two, or not It Takes Two, A Way Out. Like, that ending. Well, actually, I'm not going to spoil it. I'll just talk in generality so that way we cover our bases. That game's ending is sad, but it's the only way I think that game works. And there's two endings, and they're both sad. It's just varied perspectives on which you think is more sad. Yeah, I think Halo honestly probably could have just said, yeah, Chief died fighting the good fight, and that would have still cemented him as like a game. I mean, he'll always be a gaming icon, but it could have been a way just to kind of bookend that story and then start something new somewhere else with Halo.
Yeah, Halo was this legendary gaming franchise, and as we see it now, that it's kind of like dwindled in a shell of what it used to be. And I'm sad to
Yeah.
admit that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because like growing up and having, 2, 3 reach all in that span, it's insane. The quality of those games is so good. I like Halo 1, but like at this point, Halo 1 does not feel very good to play compared to even just 2. Like I don't know, it just for me at least, it just seems a little too clunky at this point.
I was just going to say, I refuse to believe that Halo 2 came out in 2004 because it was miles above its time.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Like that's what was pushing that franchise is the fact that they were so ahead of the ball. And then I think they got to a point where they got tired in front of the ball, and then the ball ran over them because you had 2, 3 reach, all great games. Those are my like top 3 probably. Not in that order, but great games. Halo 4 is an okay game. It checks the boxes that you needed it to. The campaign was, that was a Halo campaign. Was it the best one? No. Was it the worst one? Also no. Then you had 5, which obviously had the main issue with 5 I think was the marketing. They pitched you a very different game, and then you were like, what is this? Spartan Locke? I thought he was like gonna be this other character, and they're like, no, we changed our minds. We lied to you basically in the trailer. And then Infinite was, and the campaign's fine. You don't take advantage of the open world at all. All it is just you can go over here and you can find an audio log or a armor paint for multiplayer, which, to each their own. But, and I also thought we were going to get like story expansions because it kind of ends on like a weird note because after like the final mission, you can go find like that Forerunner relic or whatever, Forerunner structure.
Yeah, it kind of ended at a weird spot, but I think that's where they were hoping the game did better than it did, and they were going to make a sequel for it.
Well, like the weird thing though was like the fact that they said that Halo Infinite was supposed to be a Halo game that lasts 10 years. Like let's like GTA 5 online has lasted 11 years, 10 years, whatever. With that game, that's the only one that can do it, I think, right now. At least nothing else has done that sort of numbers, unless it's like a recurring subscription game or anything like that. But like the fact that they said it's going to be the one for 10 years, so for the campaign to end at that point, to me says they were either planning expansions or they were expecting you to just wait 10 years to pick up that story again, which would have been a real slap in the face. Because like I didn't mind it. I don't love the Banished or anything. Like they were fine. They're no Covenant. No Flood, but they'll do, I guess.
I feel like not a lot of people knew about the Banished. Like the casual Halo fan didn't really know about the Banished unless you played Halo Wars 2. And with Halo Wars 2 being different, like a strategy game and not just an FPS game, I think not a lot of people knew what the Banished actually was.
Yeah, I think that's the only way I really knew about it. I had a Halo book. I think that may have referenced them one time. Maybe, but the only thing that I can think concretely is Halo Wars 2 being like, here's troops that are banished in the faction where like they made it very clear that there was something else, but I didn't know a whole lot about them either. And Infinite didn't really explain them. I mean, they explained them kind of, but nothing like, oh, okay, this is why I should be invested. It's just kind of like they're not the Covenant, but here they are, and it's it's like, okay, shoot these guys instead of those guys, whatever.
I do find interesting about the Banished, though, is that there were the human insurrectionists there were cells that were a part of the Banished as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I follow this guy on TikTok who goes like we'll do like videos of in-depth Halo lore, and
Mhm.
he sometimes streams on Twitch. So like I'll watch him, and
Right.
it's just like I thought I knew a lot about Halo. Every time I hear him talk about something, I'm like, man, I feel like I know less and less about Halo every time I see one of his videos. Not that I'm complaining. I love it.
Oh, absolutely. It's always nice to see someone who, like, when you think you've hit like the ceiling of your like information on a subject, and then you see someone that kind of like broadens that and raises that ceiling to you, and you're like, wow, I have so much more I can like learn and consume and interpret, and it is a cool experience.
I would agree. But on that note, I think we are going to wrap up episode 4 of the
Yep.
Split Screen Experience. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to send this to your friends, family, and really just some random person on the street. We appreciate all the views, and we'd love for you to keep watching every single Saturday. And as always, I'm your host, Harmon, joined by,
Your co-host Andrew.
we'll see you next week. Peace.
See you, everybody.